UCLA got blown out 56-6 in a very important matchup. A matchup that saves their season, turns everything around, and I have a lot to say about it. What's going on, everybody? My name is Daniel Augustin. This is Multi-Hyphenate AF. Before I move forward, I gotta let you know how important it is to me to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe. I gotta go to hit 10K by the end of the year. That's not gonna happen without you. And let me just be real, I understand you don't have to press that button. I get that. That's why I want to create these videos of value for you. If this is giving you any value, like, comment, and subscribe. If it's not, let me know in the comments. All right, maybe there's something I got to switch up. Maybe there's something I need to bring to the table. And I'm here for the constructive criticism. You dig? Some of y'all be tripping though. I'm not gonna lie. Some of y'all just be rude for no reason. But anyways, listen. This game, man, 56-6. First of all, I hate to admit this, but I expected UCLA to cover the spread. I expected that. And the way this game started, you know what? Before UCLA even touched the field, I was watching on television and I saw them come up from under the tunnel. And I was looking at their eyes. They looked scared. They didn't look like they were ready to play. They looked like, let's see what happens. Let's see what we can do. Let's hope for the best. Let's pray. Let's try and do what we've been doing. And I think because of this game right here, when it comes to next season, Tim Skipper will absolutely be gone. For Tim Skipper to have kept this job as the interim head coach, he got to win this game right here. Got to. Period, point blank. I know that's a lot to ask for. Too tall of a task. That's the number 2 team in the country. What you mean? We got to beat Indiana. What do you mean? Beat all these other teams? When we wasn't winning before? You have to. You have to at least have this game be competitive so that the university boosters and whoever, media, people who are talking about this, people who are selling narratives that you have no control over, Mr. Skipper, you got to at least have this game be competitive by having these boys ready to play, and they were not ready to play. I was watching Curt Cignetti in another interview before the game. People were talking to him about UCLA. He pops off and says, listen, this is a 3-0 football team. That's how we're approaching it this week. These guys are talented. And, I mean, who's going to look at them like that? They came into this game 3-4. But if he's in a press conference talking like that, then you know good and damn well that's how he's talking to his guys, and that's how his guys are going to approach this game as well. They're going to approach this game like, man, we don't got no time for no letdown. We don't have no time for that. We had our letdown last season in the college football playoff. That's not how we about to show up in this game to UCLA. They're not about to surprise us, and you know how I know he had them ready to play? Not just their energy and their swagger. No, when UCLA went to punt the ball, because the past 3 weeks, these past 3 games that UCLA has had, they've done some kind of crazy shit on special teams where they stole a possession from the other team. Did it against Penn State. I think I remember them doing it against Maryland. Not sure about Michigan State. It might have been Michigan State and maybe not Maryland. Don't recall. But they use their special teams. UCLA does not just use special teams as a way to flip the field. No. UCLA use special teams as a weapon. They use it as a weapon for their offense, so to speak. But when I watched UCLA go to punt the ball, it was either their first or their second punt. I think it was the second one. UCLA was already down by that time by like 14-0. I think it was their second one. Or they were down 7-0. It's 14-0. Curt Cignetti had his team line up in a punt safe return. A safe return punt formation. They didn't even try to block any punts in this game. They weren't going to allow themselves to get beat on a punt return because this UCLA team is a team that doesn't really have an identity. You see how long it took Nico to really start getting into his bag and running as much as he was and finding a flow on offense? Maybe some of that had something to do with Deshaun Foster and the way he was talking to those guys, but it took him too long. You don't need to lose your first 4 games of the season to teams you shouldn't lose to kind of figure out, all right, what do I need to do? You don't need to do that. But I bring that up to say they didn't know their identity. Once they had Tim Skipper step in and Neuheisel step in, they started to figure out okay, we need to run the ball a little bit more. We need to play with a quicker passing attack. and they started becoming more successful as a team. They started running for over 100 plus more yards than before. This started to become a very productive offense. We started to see guys on this team that could probably go to the NFL. This looked like a team where everybody needed to hit the portal. And now all of a sudden it's like, yo, who is this guy? Who's Gilmer? Who is, I can't say his name. Motuatu la 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 wide receiver. Who is this? They got some DBs. Got some players over there. They got a little running back over there. Who are these people? I ain't seen them in the whole first 4 games. Where the hell they been at? Coming to this game, and what I realized with UCLA is they constantly need like one good thing to happen for them to start believing, for them to start getting into the momentum. No. Unacceptable, dog. Unacceptable. This is why Tim Skipper will be gone. Because you have to come out of the locker room with that energy. You can't afford to play around with that. I mean, maybe you can afford for that to be the case when you're playing against Michigan State, and Michigan State ain't had it figured out for too long, for so long that like, okay, we could fuck off a couple possessions. All right, we could fuck off a couple possessions with Maryland too. Yeah, we can go back and forth with Maryland and Michigan State and Penn State. I know the name, the brand is what it is, but the team ain't what it is. The team, that's a struggling team. They don't have no identity either. They're not in touch with themselves either. And UCLA won that game by starting fast and then stealing a possession with the onside kick. Man, when I saw this game, the first play of the game, sack. Nico Iamaleava gets sacked. Automatically, I knew I was about to lose my money on this game. My whole parlay ticket got fucked up. Second play of this game, Nico throws it right to the defender. Probably trying to force something, probably trying not to get sacked again, probably trying to just make a play happen for his team as opposed to taking another sack. Ends up throwing a pick six. And that's how Indiana gets their first points, 7-0. Punt the ball back off to UCLA, or they kick it back off. And then UCLA goes 3 and out. You can't make this shit up. You can't start like that. That's so unacceptable. We're playing against the number 2 team in the country. You really think I'm going to let my team come out here with that energy? I'm telling you, as soon as I would have seen them boys coming out the tunnel like they did, I would have walked their ass back to the locker room. I would have walked them back into the locker room and I would have said, start over! Start over! I would have walked them back into that locker room. And I probably would have went to go find one of those guys. One of the guys. Either it's going to come from me or it's going to come from one of the guys. And if it comes from me, then boom, I walk them back into the locker room. I say what I need to say. And I'm going to peep game as far as the energy and how the room is shifting. Otherwise, I'm going to find a guy in that locker room that people respect. And I'm going to tell him, go get everybody in check. Right the fuck now. I mean, when I watch Tim Skipper in interviews, he does not at all strike me as somebody who's going to inspire anybody. Too happy. You too skippy. I'm not saying this to be rude. I like him. I like him a lot. Like as UCLA has been successful, I sent him an email letting him know that I'm very fond of their success. I'm a fan of their success. I am. But dog, these are young men who are going up against another team that went further than them last season, another team that has struggled worse than the UCLA program ever struggled. Don't nobody know nothing about no Indiana football, and they are fucking balling. They just went and beat Oregon. They are looking like beasts. We saw them. We've been watching them on tape all week. The way UCLA came out of the tunnel, they came out of the tunnel like almost admitting to themselves that like, we don't know if we could beat them. We don't know. Such a tough game to watch. 56-6. I do believe that the ref came up short on a lot of those calls. At least one or two of those defensive pass interference calls that he called were bad calls. And, but there's nothing you can do about that. You got to play through it. And I genuinely believe Indiana has two of the best wide receivers in college football. Definitely one of the top 5 duos at wide receiver with Cooper and Surratt. Surratt is giving people problems, bro. Nobody can guard this guy right now. I don't know who is the one that can guard him for real, for real. Like when I watched Indiana versus Oregon, those corners were struggling. They were holding on him like crazy. They were tugging on his jersey. They were doing everything that they could to just stay close to him because he's big, he's physical, he's slick with it. All right, he's a technician. He knows how to get the ball in spaces that you're not expecting. And Indiana also knows how to put the ball in spaces that you're not expecting. They had a goal line play where they basically ran like an interesting looking pick route, and they found a way to throw the ball in a spot where nobody else is. So they know how to score. They know how to win. This Indiana team knows how to win, and you can see it all over them. They're going to be exciting to watch. As for UCLA, I mean, let's just look at the schedule moving forward because they got one hell of a schedule still. Next up is Nebraska. They get a bye this week. Then they get Nebraska. And then they got Ohio State. And then they got Washington. And then USC. I'm going to try to go to that USC game for sure. Might even try to go to the Rose Bowl for the game against Washington. But dog, Nebraska, Ohio State, Washington, USC. I just hope UCLA can find a groove again. I hope they can find a groove again. I would love to see them go to a bowl game that is of the caliber of the players on that team. They are better. They can be better than their record indicates. But they got to know that. They have to know that. They cannot start the game on some like, oh man, we got Indiana. We got Ohio State. Ohio State's scarier than all of them. In my opinion, maybe not. Maybe Indiana is as scary as UCLA just showed us they are. 56-6? That's a team that knows how to not play with their food. That's a team that knows how to eat what's on their plate. Man, shout out to Indiana. I know I spend more time talking about UCLA. Shout out to Indiana. Shout out to Kurt Signetti. That's a guy who knows how to get his guys ready to play. I love it. You see his attitude in the videos, in the interviews. You know how he got to be talking to these guys. Bro, you got to look these guys in the eye. I remember the Tom Brady, the Patriots Super Bowl against the Falcons, and there was a moment where Robert Kraft walks up to Tom Brady right before the game, and he says, "Look, I want to see you. Look at me. Look me in the eyes. I need to know that you're ready." It's one of the best moments I saw because it just was a moment that just reminded you that like this game it's played in here. If you don't got this ready, if you don't got this right, bro, you finna come up short. I'm telling you, the guy that shouldn't beat you will every single time. That's enough for me on this topic. I hate that UCLA lost this way, not just because of the bread that I lost, but because I actually liked this team. I wanted the most for them. But I think they need to be looking at some kind of coach that can speak to these guys in a spiritual way to get them to understand what's possible and that there's more possible than their record indicates. Oh man, I want to see who's going to be the coach over there because it's got to be somebody who can really speak to these guys in a much deeper way than just X, right, Z, triple. No, can't just call another play. You dig? If you got to this part of the video, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you, but I can tell you how much more I'd appreciate you if you messed around and subscribe and just tap that button right there. I could tell you that much. I could tell you that much. Subscribe it and then I'll tell you. We'll talk about it because you're going to be a part of the community. And when I drop videos, you're going to see it right away. And sometimes I'm going to shout you out because you're probably leaving cool ass comments down below, or you're leaving one of them fuck shit comments and I'll call it out. And maybe we're more so a community of shit talkers. All good, as long as we're building a community. Because the children of the community are the children of the community. Shout out Kamala Harris. I'm not a fan. Listen, guys, thank you for watching.